Okay, so this string is attached to pins on the back side, and it is activated when you pull on it. So you can push the wall, let it go, and it will lock it into place. So cool. So you're good? Start it?
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of people have asked how I've been able to get my climbing wall, to stay at a specific degree. So I built this pin, so it's a spring-loaded pin, and this pin is forced into the frame from the wall side. To do this, I had to drill a hole through the cap, and then I had the tools available to me to roll a flange on a piece of pipe, a little piece of copper that I had laying around, and then I put a washer at the end of that. And all this was because when the cordelet goes through and you pull this pin back, and I can show you on the one that's still installed. When the rope comes back and you pull the pin back, what would happen would be the pipe is there to keep the spring from collapsing in on itself. So when I would pull this previously, the spring would want to fold in half. So to stop that from happening, I put the copper pipe in. Now the problem with the copper pipe is when you pull the pin back, the copper pipe has no reason to go back that way. So it just stays there. So that's why I had rolled the flange. This little lip, if you can see it, on the end of the piece of pipe. But that wasn't big enough to keep the spring from popping out over top of that flange. So without the washer, the spring would just pop out over top of that flange too. I couldn't roll a big enough flange on the end of this piece of copper. So to stop that, I just put the washer here. So the washer holds the spring in place. And then on this side, the same thing was happening. The spring was getting sucked into that washer, and it was causing it not to, the pin was getting stuck. It wouldn't retract, it wouldn't push back. So to stop that from happening, I just took this spring and bent it open a little bit, and then that catches on that washer. So same thing over here. The spring is bent open a little bit, so then you can pull this back freely. It compresses the spring, it retracts the pin from inside the wall, and then you just let it go, find a sweet spot, and it pops back in. So it works well. It works better from the front side because you're pulling from a lever, and it's 40 pounds to retract this spring. So my last version of this is going to be to find a way to get this secured to the cap. I don't want to have to weld it because it just seems like a pain. I tried to put to drill a hole through that in the cap and put a screw through it, but I don't have the right screw, so I'm gonna have to find the right screw for that. And then the wood is just a housing unit for it, so it all sits there nice and pretty like. So for the most part, everything seems to work right, and it all pulls together fine, and everything works fine. I'm just trying to fine tune it to get it a little bit better, a little bit more fluid.